When a heartbroken girl calls, you won't believe the billionaire's unexpected response. The phone rang, slicing through the heavy silence of a dimly lit room. A girl sobbed on the other end, her distress palpable, her words tumbling out in fits and gasps. "He left me." Just like that. The tears turned into desperate cries, echoing the loneliness that draped around her like a thick fog. What could turn a love story into a heartbreaking mess? The answer lay in the arms of Marcus Voltaire, a reclusive billionaire with a reputation of being colder than ice. A man whose charm tempts you in but whose heart seems forever sealed away. That evening, the sky shifted from soft pinks to angry blacks, swirling clouds like the chaos inside her spiraling mind. Shadows flickered as streetlights buzzed outside, their glow merely an illusion of safety against the storm brewing inside. He was rich, powerful, and mysterious, a dangerous combination that lit a fire of both attraction and fear in her chest. What kind of person just walks away from love? Then came a twist. He answered her tear-stained call. The world shifted. She could almost hear the clock ticking down to something monumental. "Yes, I know. It's best," she whispered between breaths, her heart pounding like a war drum at his mere acknowledgement. But then, instead of cold indifference, a surprising warmth filled their connection. "Meet me at the Silver Lake," he urged. The name sent shivers down her spine. Legend had it the lake held secrets, the kind that could rock souls to their core. Did he know more than he was saying? She could feel the electricity in the air as her gut clenched tight. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." She hesitated. What if his surprising warmth was just a lure? What on earth could be waiting for her at the lake? Her heart raced with excitement and fear. Could he be the man to piece her heart back together? Or would he break it completely? The thoughts churned like her stomach, and each breath felt heavier than the last. As she set foot outside, the cool night barely softened the simmering doubt in her mind. A storm was coming inside and out. What awaited her at that enigmatic shoreline? Did Marcus hold the keys to forgotten love? Or would he be the architect of her undoing? The drive to the Silver Lake was a blur of streetlights flashing by, the rhythmic swish of wipers battling against the rain that began to drizzle softly then turned into a steady downpour. Her heart hammered in her chest, the engine of her anxiety roaring louder than the storm outside. Each passing car felt like a reminder of what she was leaving behind, the life she thought she wanted slipping farther away with every mile. As she pulled into the parking lot, floodlights illuminated the area, casting ghostly shadows against the trees. She parked and paused, her breath hitching in her throat as the enormity of the moment hit her. The lake, dark and mysterious, lay ahead of her like a mirror reflecting her deepest fears and wildest hopes. Would Marcus be waiting with open arms? Or was this a mistake cloaked in glamorous promises? Stepping out of the car, thunder rumbled in the distance. A warning perhaps, or an electric invitation. She wrapped her arms around herself against the chill and started toward the trembling water's edge, her boots splashing through shallow puddles. The world felt eerily quiet. Only the sound of her heartbeat filled the void. Suddenly, she spotted a figure tall and commanding standing under a gnarled tree, its branches like skeletal fingers reaching for him. Marcus. His back faced her, the dark contours of his silhouette barely visible amid the storm. Anxiety clawed at her chest. Would he turn around, revealing the man behind the ruthless billionaire facade? Or would he remain a devil in shadows, a harbinger of more chaos in her life? "Marcus," she called, her voice wavering. He turned, and in that moment, the world around her faded. His piercing gaze held a mix of intensity and something softer, something that made her heart lurch with both hope and confusion. "You came," he said. his voice gravelly yet soothing, a mixture of warmth that strangely ignited something within her despite the storm raging outside. "I wasn't sure you would. Why would you think that?" she replied, stepping closer, the rain soaking her clothes, making her shiver. "You caught me at a vulnerable moment." He smiled faintly, and the hint of vulnerability beneath his tough exterior soothed some of her fear. "We all have our moments," he admitted. "Even billionaires." As she approached, she noted the way the rain glistened on his skin, highlighting the sharp angles of his jaw. Why did he seem unwilling to break the surface of his own emotions? What was it about him that made her heart flutter yet quake with unease? She felt dangerously drawn to him, as if she were a moth flirting too close to the flame. "Why did you want to meet me here?" she asked, struggling to maintain her composure. "Because there are things that need to be said." He stepped closer, powerful yet careful, as if every word carried an unspoken weight. "Things that might change how you see me, how you see everything." Just then, lightning illuminated the dark sky, and a cold gust of wind whipped through the trees, sending her heart racing once again. There was something hidden beneath his words, something she couldn't quite grasp. Her intuition screamed at her to be careful, yet she couldn't turn back now. "Tell me," she urged, stepping forward, determination burning in her gut. But Marcus's expression shifted, tension pulling his features tight. "Before I do, you should know a secret I've kept." Her breath hitched. What was he hiding? What revelation would shake the very foundation of their fragile connection? The sky cracked open with thunder, drowning out the pounding of her heart as Marcus drew in a deep breath, ready to shatter her world or mend it once and for all. "What is it?" she asked, leaning closer, urgency dripping from her words. But as he opened his mouth to speak, a crashing sound echoed through the night, trees snapping, followed by a blinding flash of lightning that lit up the dark waters behind them. "Look out!" The danger beyond the lake surged closer, and in that moment, it became painfully clear everything was about to change. The thunder rolled overhead, deep and menacing, as she turned instinctively toward the source of the sound. Her pulse quickened with dread, an icy fear wrapping around her heart like a vice. In the dim light, she could see branches crashing down, a formidable force against the storm's rage. The trees swayed dangerously close, threatening to snap like toothpicks in a giant's grip. "Marcus," she called out, her voice blending with the wind's howl. She reached for him, desperate to bridge the distance, but he was already moving, springing into action. "Stay behind me," he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. In that instant, she saw it. The fierce protector in him, the man who would shield her from the storm. She stumbled back, adrenaline spiking as a tree fell, splintering the earth just feet away. The impact sent a spray of mud and debris flying, coating her in a cold shower of earth. "What's happening?" Panic clawed at her, drowning out the shouts of the wind. "It's just the storm, nothing we can't handle." His reassuring tone was a soft blanket over the tumult. But as she locked eyes with him, she could see that uncertainty lingered beneath his steely resolve. Was it merely the storm that threatened them, or was it something deeper? Questions darted through her mind like fireflies. What secrets lay buried in his past? What dangers loomed in his world? As Marcus scanned the treetops that danced violently, she noticed how the light from the floodlights flickered, casting erratic shadows like tortured souls through the trees. Each pulse of light was a reminder of how little they truly knew about one another. "Marcus, please, just tell me what's going on," she cried, fear shaping the words. She reached for him, her fingers brushing against the warmth of his arm. Grounding herself in the moment, he looked down, his jaw tightening. "I didn't want you to find out this way," he muttered under his breath. Something dark shadowed his expression, the weight of his unspoken truth evident in his tense posture. "Find out what?" She shifted closer, her heart battered by conflicting emotions, the thrill of proximity and a churning anxiety as loud as the storm. Then, just as the winds peaked in fury, a piercing shriek cut through the air, a woman's scream, frightening and raw. It came from a distance, rippling through the chaos like a stone dropped in water. "Did you hear that?" she asked, terror and urgency racing through her veins. We have to help them. No. He grabbed her wrist, firm yet careful, fear flickering in his eyes. We need to stay put. It's too dangerous out there. But her instincts screamed otherwise. We can't just stand here, Marcus. Someone might be in trouble. For a fleeting moment, doubt twisted in his features. I can't let you go alone. I won tea before he could finish. The wind howled again, raging like a wild beast, as another crack of lightning illuminated the scene. They were enveloped in a brilliant flash, revealing not just the lake's surface but also something dark beneath the water. A ripple, like something surfacing, something not of this world. It was as if the storm was angry enough to reveal its twisted secrets. Did you see that? She gasped, breath catching in her throat. What was that? He released her wrist but hung by her side, trading fear-laden glances that spoke of unsaid horrors. I don't know, he stammered, the bravado fading, revealing vulnerability. And in that moment, as thunder roared with a ferocity unmatched, the sharp realization washed over her. Whatever truth lay behind Marcus's guarded facade was woven tightly with the dark secrets of this storm. Just then, another scream pierced the night, echoing through the trees, pushing her to the brink of resolve. Marcus, we have to go. And as the words fell from her lips, something monstrous erupted from the depths of the lake. A creature from the shadows, eyes glistening with a predatory hunger. No, this can't be happening. Marcus's panic mirrored her own. And together they stood at the edge of a revelation deeper and darker than the storm itself. What had they stumbled into? She could feel it within her bones. The storm was just the beginning. The creature surged from the lake, water cascading off its scales like shards of glass. Its eyes glowed with a haunting light, and a low growl reverberated through the air, sending chills racing down her spine. The storm shrieked in agreement, clashing with the creature's presence, creating a symphony of chaos that tugged at her insides. What is that? She gasped, her voice trembling while her heart drummed a frantic rhythm in her chest. She wished she could take a step back, yet there was nowhere to retreat. The swampy ground beneath them felt alive, breathing. Nature's wrath had twisted into something primal and terrifying. Marcus tightened his grip on her arm, his face pale beneath the flickering light. I've heard stories, but I thought they were just that, stories. Stories? She felt the panic swell, her mind racing with images of monsters hidden in fairy tales. But this was no tale. What are we dealing with? Before he could respond, the grotesque creature let out a deafening roar, splintering the night with its fury. The sound was raw and ancient, a warning to everything that dared come near. Run! Marcus shouted, finally breaking from his frozen state. He pulled her forward, urging her to move. It was instinct now, survival driving them. She darted beside him, adrenaline overriding the fear gripping her limbs. Branches clawed at them as they ran, roots snagging at their ankles like fingers trying to pull them back into the dark. Each step was a battle against the storm and whatever beast lurked behind them. Lightning lit up the scene, flashing across the trees, and the terrified expression on Marcus's face. Where do we go? She cried out, her breath coming in jagged gasps. Panic was a relentless drill, burrowing into her heart. She couldn't shake the image of the creature chasing them, its gnashing teeth and smoldering gaze burning in her mind. Follow me. He yanked her toward the only safe haven she could see, a rickety old cabin silhouetted against the storm, a relic from a forgotten past. Every instinct screamed at her that it was a trap, but it was their only option. They barreled through the door, slamming it shut behind them. The wood creaked ominously, the darkness swallowing them whole. The inside was as battered as the outside. Dusty furniture and broken windows let in splinters of light, but offered no comfort. Do you think it will follow us in here? She whispered, breathless with fear. Marcus shook his head, the fierce protector returning, though the shadow of doubt lay heavy behind his eyes. I don't know. Her heart raced, and the weight of his words pressed down on her. They were trapped amid chaos and uncertainty. But she couldn't let the fear paralyze her. You can't just keep avoiding the truth, Marcus. We need to know what we're facing, what you're hiding. Now isn't the time. He snapped, his eyes flicking to the door, listening for any sign of the creature. A storm's fury is starting to feel like the least of our worries, she whispered, pressing her back against the wall, heart hammering in her chest. This is more than just a storm. I senti it? You know something, please? Just tell me. At that moment, the door rattled violently, shaking in its frame. The sound was like a fist pounding against it. We don't have time for this. He took a step back, panic raging in his blue eyes. Whatever is out there, it's searching for something. What could it want? The question hung between them, thick with fear. They needed answers, and fast. It knows about us, about me. And as he whispered those words, the cabin groaned as if it recognized the weight of the revelation. The world outside seemed to hold its breath, the storm unable to drown out the primal fear that filled the room. What had Marcus done to draw this monstrous wrath? No sooner had the thought broken the surface than the door burst open, swinging wide on its hinges, revealing nothing but the storm's fury. But they weren't alone. There was a flash, a glimmer at the darkness edge, something watching them. In that instant, a realization hit her like a bolt of lightning. The storm was far from over. What if it's not just the storm after us? The echo of Marcus's troubled past resided in her gut, and she grasped the gravity of their nightmarish reality. Just then, a shadow moved, darting across their periphery, and everything changed. What was that? She gasped, heart thudding, unsure if the real threat was behind them or lurking right beside. The shadow froze, tension thick like fog. Her resolve flickered, caught between taking action and succumbing to dread. The cabin creaked, a warning of the unpredictable storm that raged outside. Marcus, she whispered, her voice barely a sound in the chaos. What is that? He didn't answer, his face a mask of concentration. His eyes darted around the room as if searching for an exit, a weapon, or a way to erase the chilling reality that had settled in. He took a hesitant step forward, and she instinctively grabbed his arm. Don't. The word burst from her, laced with desperation. She felt the weight of every heartbeat, every breath heavy in the stillness that surrounded them. Stay behind me, he ordered softly, moving towards the doorframe. The darkness flickered at the edges, pulling her gaze. With a shaky breath, she forced herself to look. The flash of movement from earlier solidified into a tangible shape, a figure concealed in shadows, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. A shiver clawed up her spine. Is it the creature? Marcus squinted, straining to see anything more than a silhouette. I can't tell, he muttered, frustration seeping deeper into his voice. The sound of rain pounding against the roof drowned out their breaths. But just as it seemed the storm would swallow them whole, the figure stepped into a burst of moonlight. It wasn't the creature. It was a woman, her hair whipped around her face, soaked and wild. She looked as if she had emerged from the heart of the storm itself, and a frenzied energy surrounded her, like a live wire. Help! She gasped, collapsing against the doorframe, soaking the floorboards beneath her. They're coming. You have to hide. Confusion flashed between them. Who's coming? Marcus asked sharply, stepping protectively in front of her. Monsters, the woman cried, eyes wide and terror-stricken. They're searching for you. For him. She pointed a trembling finger at Marcus, her voice trembling with urgency. What do you mean? Why would they be looking for him? The newcomer's screams rattled through the night air, a cacophony of horror that tested the fabric of their sanity. The woman's eyes flicked nervously toward the door, as if the mere mention of the threats had summoned them forth. They know what he has done. Her words hung raw in the air, a loaded truth ready to detonate. Enough, Marcus barked, struggling to maintain control. We can't talk about this now. Do you really expect us to trust you? Suddenly, a loud thud shook the cabin. The door rattled violently as if something was trying to break in. We don't have time. The woman shouted, urgency saturating her voice. You need to understand. They can smell your fear. They can stop. Marcus's voice cut through the panic. What are you talking about? What fear can they smell? The cabin shuddered again, and she could see the hysteria building in Marcus's eyes. He had always felt responsible, but now it mirrored the very fear he was desperate to shake off. The woman leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "A curse is following you, and we only have until midnight." Midnight? The words echoed like a ticking clock. She felt a chill creep into her bones. What curse was this woman speaking of? Questions flooded her mind, each one heavier than the last. Something pounded against the door, a sickening rhythm like a heartbeat. "Get away from the door," Marcus ordered, retreating with her to the farthest corner of the cabin. He loomed protective and fierce, but the flicker of fear was undeniable. "What do we do?" she murmured, barely able to keep her voice steady. "We fight," he said, determination grounding his words. "Whatever it is, we have to face it. Together." The cabin walls trembled again, but somewhere in the back of her mind, a fire ignited at the thought of fighting back. They weren't just pawns in a twisted game, they could take control. But just as hope began to rise, the door burst inwards with a splintering crack, and chaos poured in a whirlwind of limbs, darkness and growls, overtaking their senses. With vile energy, the creatures surged forth, and everything they held onto began to unravel. What lay beyond those doors was dreaded, but what could it mean for Marcus? As they faced the encroaching darkness, one thing was certain. The true battle was just beginning. And as the shadows enveloped them, she could only wonder, was Marcus the key to their survival, or the catalyst for their doom? The door shattered, flinging splinters across the cabin like shrapnel. A wave of noise crashed over them, howls, snarls, and guttural growls mixed with the sounds of rain battering the roof. She didn't dare to breathe, terrified of making a sound that might alert the beasts to their presence. "Help me!" the woman shrieked again, eyes darting from Marcus to the breach. The shadows poured into the room, twisting and unfurling like smoke. Marcus took a step forward, fists clenched, ready to protect them. "Get back!" His voice was a thunderclap amidst the chaos, but she felt the tremor in his hands. The creatures surged forward, their forms too twisted to comprehend, their eyes glowing with an insatiable hunger. She caught her breath, heart racing as she scanned the cabin for anything they could use as a weapon. A rusty saw leaned against the wall. Without thinking, she dashed to grab it. "Don't engage. Just run," Marcus shouted, but the words felt hollow. Where could they possibly flee? With the saw gripped tightly in her hands, she turned to the woman. "What are we supposed to do?" Panic rippled through her as she caught a glimpse of one of the beasts. Their eyes were like bottomless pits of darkness, predatory and relentless. "They're drawn to your fear." The woman's voice was frantic, piercing through the madness, but it was clear they were outmatched. "If you show them you're not afraid, they might back down." Marcus shook his head, his eyes aflame with an intensity she had never seen before. "We don't have time for tricks. We fight or we die." Another crash echoed, and a creature broke through the doorway, larger than the others, muscles rippling beneath matted fur. It paused, nostrils flaring, as though tasting the air. They could almost feel the temperature drop as it focused on them. Lips pulled back in a snarl. Without hesitating, she lunged toward it, the saw glinting in the dim light. It was a wild swing driven by desperation. The creature dodged, and her heart sank as she felt the powerful rush of air in its wake. It leapt behind her, growling, eyes glimmering with malice. "Get away from her!" Marcus shouted, and before she could even process it, he charged at the beast, throwing a punch with every ounce of strength he had. Flesh met flesh, and for a moment, hope ignited in her chest. But the creature barely flinched. It swiped at Marcus, sending him crashing into the cabin wall. She winced as she saw him crumple to the floor, fear thickening her throat. "Marcus!" The sound of his name slipped from her lips like a prayer. Anguish and fear surged through her as she darted forward, desperation rooting her feet to the ground. "Step back," he gasped, eyes wild. "You're not strong enough." But she couldn't stay back. Not when everything hinged on their survival. The woman was screaming now, a shrill sound that mingled with the chaos. "The curse is tied to your bond. You have to shut up," Marcus roared. We have to survive. He glanced up just as the beast descended toward her. They were trapped in a moment where darkness loomed, and despair hung heavy in that heartbeat. She felt the truth of their bond against the monstrous threat. Even as fear gripped her, rage ignited within her a determination not to back down, to fight for their lives. Together, she cried, gripping the saw with renewed vigor in that instant. They seemed to embody a force greater than the despair encircling them. Hand in hand, they stood against the chaos, ready to confront the unknown. But as the beast lunged, revealing its razor-sharp teeth, the night whispered something even darker. Shadows thickened, and just as they braced for impact, a blinding light erupted from the cabin's window. What was that light? Was it hope or something more sinister? She could barely find the breath to ask, her heart pounding as the cabin began to shake. Amidst that terrifying revelation, one question consumed her mind. Were they about to uncover the truth of the curse, or had they irrevocably sealed their doom? The blinding light surged through the cabin, an ethereal brilliance that pushed back the darkness like the dawn chasing away the night. She squinted, shielding her eyes as the shadows shrank away, recoiling from the sheer force of it. The creature paused mid-lunge, its predatory instincts faltering. Marcus gasped, his expression shifting from pain to wonder. What the hell is that? I don't know, she stammered, the saw slipping in her grip as her attention focused on the glowing orb hovering just beyond the window. It pulsed rhythmically, bathing the cramped space in a surreal glow that felt warm and inviting yet undeniably strange. The beasts hesitated, snarling with uncertainty, their beady eyes darting from the light to the trembling trio. The tension in the air seemed to crackle, an uncanny amalgamation of fear, awe, and the sudden hope that flickered like the light itself. Get away from the window, Marcus barked, snapping her back to reality. He staggered to his feet, his fighting spirit igniting again as he shoved her behind him. Yet, in that moment something shifted. The air thickened, charged with an unexplainable energy. The light flared brighter, illuminating a dark figure emerging from its depths. A woman stepped forth, draped in a cloak that shimmered like stars suspended in the cosmos. Her face was obscured, but she exuded an aura of uncanny authority. "Stay back," Marcus shouted, instinctively putting himself in front of her as he faced the newcomer. "No," the woman screamed, her voice a desperate attempt to be heard over the chaos. "We need her. She is the one." "Need who?" The strange woman's confidence shifted the balance of fear in the room, but uncertainty gnawed at her gut. Who was this apparition? "The curse," the woman cried, her eyes wide as she pointed toward the glowing figure. "She can help break it. She holds the key." "Key?" Marcus's brow furrowed, skepticism etching his features as he readied himself for a fight. "What are you talking about?" The cloaked woman waved a hand, silencing the savage growls of the beasts. In an instant, they stilled, their gnarled bodies drooping as if losing the will to fight. She took a step closer, her voice lower now, almost like a secret shared between allies. "Listen to me. You've been brought here for a reason. The bond you share, it's powerful, but it's also been twisted by hatred." Hatred? Panic gripped her heart. "We don't hate anyone. We're just trying to survive." "Exactly," the woman continued. "But the curse will amplify the darkness unless you both confront it together." "What are you saying?" She felt a rush of anger, her thoughts spinning. How could the stranger know them? Yet, deep down, she felt something stir, a connection she didn't understand. Only when you stand united, fearless and loving, can you break the chains binding this curse. Otherwise the air thickened again, the beasts shifting restlessly, eyes gleaming with wicked intent. Reality hung on a precipice, wavered like flame in the wind. Otherwise, you'll be consumed by the darkness you've been running from. It hit her like a punch to the gut, the truth of their shared fear, the sacrifices they had to make to stand together. But how? What would it take to confront the truth of their bond without crumbling under the weight of it? "Tell us what we need to do," she breathed, her heart racing anew, hope mingling with trepidation. "We'll do whatever it takes." The woman smiled knowingly, the cloak shimmering as she extended a hand. Trust each other. Accept the bond you share. Only then will you unleash the power within. As she reached for Marcus, the ground trembled beneath them, and the shadows hissed, agitated, ready to pounce. Time was running out. Would they embrace their bond or be swallowed whole? Was this the moment they'd become more than just survivors, or would the darkness consume them? The moment her hand reached for Marcus, the world around them exploded into chaos. The ground shook violently, like a beast awakening from slumber, thrumming through the soles of her feet to her racing heart. The glowing figure pulsed beside her, its light intensifying as the cloaked woman beckoned them closer. Trust her, Marcus shouted, his voice barely cutting through the looming storm. He looked torn, as if wrestling with a choice that could tip the balance of everything they knew. The creatures started to convulse, their formerly still forms beginning to ripple with renewed energy, fierce and fearsome. Do it together, the cloaked woman urged, her voice a beacon of clarity amid the tumult. She didn't hesitate. Grabbing Marcus's hand, she felt the heat of his palm, the desperate pulse of their shared fear and yearning. This was it. They were all they had left. As they clasped hands, the air shimmered around them, thickening with this electric connection. The light surged, engulfing them in a radiant embrace. Without thinking, she focused on the bond that tied them. Memories swept through her mind, laughter shared in stolen glances, the warmth of solace in dark times, and their unyielding fight for survival. Feel it, she whispered, her breath mingling with the radiant glow. We can do this. At that moment, the creatures countered their stillness, the hissing growing louder, and something in the air crackled, like static before a lightning strike. The tension wound tightly around them, ready to snap, ready to unleash a torrent of horror. But in the heart of the storm, their connection throbbed brighter. It felt like the rise of a tide, an unstoppable force pushing against despair. The cloaked woman exhaled sharply, and in that instant, the air pulsed with incantations that rolled off her tongue. A mere whisper, yet it thundered in their hearts like a war cry. Together, speak your truth. What truth? Marcus's voice trembled, a mix of fear and uncertainty flooding through him. Your truth, she urged, squeezing his hand tighter. Do you trust me? Yes. His voice was raw, breaking through the clamor. I trust you. Suddenly, she found herself shouting, the words spilling out with an intensity she hadn't known lived inside her. I've been scared. Scared of the darkness within and without. But I'm not running anymore. It poured from her, a confession that felt like both a weight lifted and a chain forged. His voice chimed in, fierce and unwavering. I won't let fear control my life. Whatever binds us, we'll confront it together. Light erupted, louder than rivaling thunder, wrapping around them like a cocoon. The creatures shrieked, their wails piercing the air as they were repelled by the force of the glowing orb. For a split second, it seemed as though everything froze. The darkness, the beasts, the claustrophobic cabin, it all dissolved into nothing as the light held them tenderly in its embrace. Then everything exploded around them. She gasped as reality came rushing back, but the cabin was now transformed. The once confining space had shifted, becoming vast and glowing, like stepping into another realm. The creatures were gone, replaced by shimmering lights dancing like fireflies. The cloaked woman gasped in astonishment, her hand covering her mouth. It worked, you did it. You harnessed the power of your bond. Cool, right? Marcus said, blinking in disbelief. But before joy could settle, shadows began to swirl on the edges of the brightness, creeping closer, forming grotesque faces that twisted and sneered. We've only just begun, the cloaked woman warned, her gaze shifting toward the encroaching darkness. The curse isn't easily broken. You'll face trials greater than you can imagine. What was their next move? As the shadows slithered nearer, she felt her breath catch. Could they truly conquer the curse? Or were they unwittingly inviting a greater darkness into their lives? It was a truth that twisted like a knife in her gut. Now what? She gasped, the fear creeping back, gnawing at her resolve. The shadows writhed around them, pulsating like a dark heartbeat, eager to swallow the light. She felt the tightening in her chest again, fear clawing at her insides. They had just reached a tiny glimmer of hope, and now it felt like that hope was slipping away, just out of reach. Marcus, she breathed, her voice trembling. What do we do now? He glanced around wildly, the brightness of their radiant cocoons stark against the approaching shadows. We can't let them get to us. We've survived this far. His breath came in short bursts, determination flickering in his eyes even as doubt gnawed at him. The cloaked woman stepped forward, her silhouette defiant against the darkness. You have unlocked a part of your power, but you need to face what is coming together. She lifted her hand, drawing intricate patterns in the air as the shadows twisted and hissed. What you fear the most will rise. Embrace it. Embrace it? Marcus frowned, glancing at her. How can we embrace something that terrifies us? By understanding it, the cloaked woman replied, her voice steady. Know your truth even when it hurts. The shadows lunged, grotesque figures twisting amid a cacophony of howls and whispers. A deep voice roared from the depths, low and menacing, drowning out their hopes. You think you can defeat what you fear? Face your failures. Face your demons. The air thickened with tension. As the figures advanced, she gritted her teeth, squeezing Marcus's hand tighter. I won T back down. We need to confront whatever this is. I felt fear all my life, Marcus shouted, his voice rising above the chaos. The fear of losing you, of never being enough. He was shouting now, as if the words themselves could quell the rising tide of darkness. But I refused to let it control me. I'm done hiding. The cloaked woman nodded, her eyes gleaming with admiration for their mutual strength. Speak it. Let the truth permeate this darkness. With newfound conviction, she raised her chin. I'm scared of being abandoned. I'm scared that our journey will end in failure. But I am not going to let it stop me. The words burst out like a dam breaking, raw and unfiltered. Yes, Marcus echoed, the tremors of uncertainty replaced by fire. I'm terrified too, terrified that if I falter even for a second, everything we built will come crashing down. But we fight. We face this together. Their voices rose in a symphony, merging into a crescendo as the shadows thrashed violently against their radiant core, shrieking and retreating under the onslaught of their unified truths. The darkness roiled but could not find purchase against their declaration. But just as it seemed like they had broken through, a chilling laughter reverberated around them, wrapping cold fingers around their hearts. You think you've won? It sneered, the shadows coagulating, forming into a figure, tall and dark, with eyes like voids that sucked in light. You've only just begun to scratch the surface. She felt Marcus's grip tighten around her hand, his body tense beside her. The cloaked woman stepped back, her demeanor ominous. Prepare yourselves. This is only the first trial. What do you mean? She gasped, eyes wide in dread. Confrontation is just the beginning. To break the curse, you must confront the deepest parts of yourselves. Only then can light truly conquer darkness. A thunderous sound erupted, shaking the ground beneath them as reality began to fracture again. The glowing light flickered, a signal of instability, and a tunnel of swirling colors formed ahead of them. No, not again, she screamed, but Marcus squeezed her hand firmly. We can do this. He breathed deeply, an echo of confidence taking root. Together we can conquer this. But as they stepped toward that swirling tunnel, she couldn't shake free the nagging doubt that slipped through her fingers. What awaited them on the other side? A new spark of dread ignited within her. Was breaking their bond even possible, or would they lose themselves in the process? As they took their first step forward, the shadows howled in fury behind them, a reminder of the darkness yet to come. The moment they crossed the threshold of that swirling tunnel, everything shifted. A rushing wind embraced them, lifting them off the ground and spiraling into unknown dimensions. Time melted, and they were engulfed in colors that pulsed and danced like flames. For a heartbeat, they were weightless, a comfortable bliss, but it quickly twisted into a suffocating reality. The light dimmed, and the comforting warmth of connection began to fade, leaving them pressed against raw anxiety. Then silence. They materialized in a stark landscape, a desolate field under a bruised sky, cracked earth beneath their feet. It was alien, the air thick with a heavy fog that clung like a shroud. She felt a cold wash of fear consume her. "Where are we?" she whispered, turning toward Marcus, whose face mirrored her dread. I think this is a representation of our fears," he stammered, the realization settling into the pit of his stomach. He took a step toward her, grounding her even when shadows began to creep from the edges of their surroundings. "We have to face them, whatever they will be." As he finished his sentence, the ground trembled, and a figure emerged from the mist. It was a shadow of darkness, looming large and menacing, holding the echoes of their insecurities. Finally, the duo of fear, it hissed, a voice echoing like thunder. "You think standing together will protect you? Who? What are you?" she stammered, heart racing as she took a step back, fear tightening its grip. "Your nightmares?" it roared, advancing, the blackness pouring over the ground like sludge. "All your failures, all your regrets, you can't hide from them." "Don't be afraid," Marcus yelled, his voice soaring above the din. "Fear is only as powerful as you make it." But she could hear the crack in his tone. The uncertainty bore down upon them like a heavy weight. Together. The word resonated between them, fragile yet powerful. "We need to stay together." She gripped his hand fiercely. As the dark figure loomed closer, it morphed into forms. Her past relationships' faces twisted with anger, betrayal loomed large, their eyes holding judgment. "See?" The darkness taunted, voices merging into a cacophony. "This is what you've failed. You will never know love." "Shut up," she yelled, the anger rising to the surface, raw and fiery. "We won't let you control us." But then Marcus stepped forward, struggling to hold onto his composure. "You think I'm not scared? That I don't fear losing everything? You don't own me." The beasts writhed, recoiling from their combined shouts, the shadows hesitating for the briefest moment. But doubt crept in, inching closer like a fog rolling in, a reminder not of what they had to fight but what they feared losing. "What if we fail?" she whispered, her breath hitching. "No." He squeezed her hand tighter. "We won't fail if we trust what we share, if we are fearlessly together." And as Marcus ignited within her resilience, the dark figure contorted, recoiling as if hit. "I'm scared," she shouted, a declaration of her truth. "Scared of what's behind me. But this is our fight." They locked eyes, an unbreakable resolve solidifying their bond, vows spoken without words. Together, they cried, intertwining their fingers. The light within them flared, pulsing with every heartbeat, reflecting their combined strength. "Yes," Marcus cried, shaking off the shadows, pushing the anxiety away. The dark figure faltered, suddenly frail against their growing light. The cacophony splintered. Fear began to retreat, revealing glimpses of their most precious memories, the laughter, the warmth, the moments they cherished and fought for. "Face it," the shadow bellowed, but its voice quivered, faltering under their unified strength. "You think love conquers all? It does." They shouted together, and the lights around them sparked, illuminating the depths of their shared truth. "We love despite the fears." With that, a blinding beam erupted from their joined hands, forcing the darkness back. The shadows screamed, twisting in anguish, but their power was nothing compared to the light streaming between them, ripping away at the chains anchoring them in despair. When silence followed, they stood hand in hand, sweat lacing their palms, breaths mingling in a peaceful rhythm. "Did we?" she whispered, tears blurring her sight. "I think so," Marcus breathed, disbelieving yet full of warmth. As the desolation faded, a pathway formed, leading into a realm drenched in light, colors of warm golds and soothing greens enveloping them. Together, she reiterated, relief blooming in her heart as they began to walk forward, leaving behind the fury of fears and chaos they had faced. "It's not over yet," Marcus pointed out, glancing around cautiously. "But we're stronger now." The warmth washed over them, igniting hope, awakening a bond that was resilient and more vibrant than anything they had faced before. As they walked into the light, hand in hand, she knew they were ready for whatever came next because they weren't just fighting alone anymore. They were a relentless force, a testament to love forged in the flames of fear, bravery ignited alongside it. And as they moved forward, she felt that every step was a declaration that they wouldn't just survive the darkness. They would conquer it together. As the light shone brightly, a single promise rang clear in her heart. Together, they could face anything. Don't you want more extraordinary stories like this one? You need to subscribe now and join our journey. Get exclusive access to thrilling tales right here. Don't wait even one more second. Smash the like button now to help us reach others craving excitement. Flood the comments section with your thoughts. What did you think about their struggle? Lastly, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need inspiration from this tale. Together, we can build a community that faces every challenge head-on.